Hi there, welcome to Ask the Chiropractor, your source for ultimate health, healing, and chiropractic. I'm Dr. Adam Rodnick out of Commerce Township, Michigan. And it's great to be here. We're glad to be here with our guest, Dr. David Flum out of Sterling Heights. And last week you were on the show, we were talking about the three things, and only three things, that can cause illness in the body, which are thoughts, toxins, and traumas.
Right, either too much or not enough of. And we were talking also, if we can recap a little bit, that thoughts, and people always ask me, how can thoughts make you ill? And I say, geez, lose a loved one, go through a divorce. What happens to your health? It absolutely goes down. And then we were talking about how to feed the brain positive things, positive reaffirmations, positive thoughts. How do you feel if someone compliments you versus if someone puts you down?
Makes you feel good.
Absolutely, you feel better.
Physiology changes. You sit upright. You never see somebody sitting upright, you know, saying, I feel so terrible today, or somebody hunched over saying, I feel like $1 million. You know, when it impacts your physiology.
Absolutely. And when we talked about toxins, we talked about air pollution, water pollution, the fact that we have 50,000 food additives added to our food in the United States, okay? And we only know what 20,000 of them do. One of them is like red dye number 5 that causes cancer. But think about it, all that 30,000 of them, we don't even know how it's affecting the physiology of our body.
And like you were saying last week also, the closer something is to the ground, to its natural state that it was made, the better it is. So if you can get organic apples, get organic apples rather than, and if you can't, at least get fresh apples, right? If you can get organic, get organic. If not, get fresh apples. If you can't get that, go to the next step. But the closer you get to the ground, the better. By the time you get to Apple Jacks, you don't have much left. You know, no offense to Apple Jacks, but, and that's what we're eating. And pretty much everything you see on TV, every food or drink, everything you see that you can put in your mouth on TV is carcinogenic. Has something in there that is cancer causing. That's what the word carcinogenic means. And the thing that our body does to compensate for these toxins, these poisons that we put in our body, is express those and detoxify through symptoms. So what's funny is that we have poisons in the body tries to get rid of them by any means through its natural thing that nature put in the body called symptoms. Let's say we eat something toxic and poisonous, we throw it up. Our body was trying to reject that for a reason. Or any symptom can do the same thing. Now we get a runny nose, trying to get rid of something, trying to flush out toxins. Now what most people do, they think they now have a symptom, so we need to go get something to stop that symptom. And they take some sort of medication, which you took something that is carcinogenic or cancer causing, then our body tried to get rid of it through a symptom. Now we're stopping the symptom, so what would that be doing to the body?
Hurting it.
Hurting the body. We're keeping the toxins in there. We're stopping our body from getting rid of it naturally.
Right, absolutely. Because there's 4 ways our body gets rid of toxins. The easiest is urination and defecation. But the other one is actually respiration. We breathe it out. Okay, that's why when people have chronic bad breath, it's the fact that they don't even know, geez, I've taken all sorts of stuff, done everything I could, yet I still have this bad breath. That's because their body expresses their toxin through their breathing. And then you have respiration, literally through the skin, and you wonder why people have acne or why people have blemishes on their skin. It's because their body's trying to detoxify through their skin, and those are the 4 ways that your body can detoxify. We also have, when somebody asked me about toxins, and they said, well, what's good toxins? And they go, well, geez, what is a good toxin? Proper nutrition. Because remember, you can't take a healthy banana and stick it in your veins. You got to eat it. And then it's got to go down in your stomach, and you need to have proper digestion in order to break the nutrients down in order for your body to use it. And trauma is a simple one. If I hit you with a baseball bat, you're not feeling good. But everyone asks me, well, what's good trauma? What is good trauma? Well, when someone goes to work out and they want to build their muscles, they start lifting weights. And lifting weights makes little tiny micro traumas in the muscle, and then the muscle builds bigger, and that's how we get big muscles, is through giving little body trauma.
Break it down, and the body then in turn starts to build it up. But we take on so many, like we were talking about previously, so many macro or major traumas and micro, which are minor traumas, smaller things, that over time it can wear out and wear down on our body, just as the toxins can.
Yeah, and that's the key. When you have toxins, thoughts, and traumas all together, That's why it's important that we eat well, move well, and think well. If we're making sure that we're eating the best possible food, we always say fresh fiber first. And I don't care if you're going to go eat McDonald's, but I challenge everybody out there to, for 1 month, just eat a fresh fiber first. Now, what is that? Well, that's fruits, nuts, and vegetables. Think about the hunting and gathering, and if you were to go out and have to find your food, that would be a great fiber. So almonds, raspberries, apples, bananas, oranges, and eat that before every meal. I don't care if you're going to go to McDonald's, eat 10 almonds and then go eat McDonald's. And watch what happens in 1 month to your health.
I like to call something like that the addition rule, and I tell my patients the same thing.
Right.
Where before that cup of coffee that you have every morning with all the cream and all the sugar that you have every single morning, I tell people not to just go home and throw everything out of their kitchen. And don't get rid of that cup of coffee. Have it every morning, but before you have that cup of coffee, eat an apple. And what happens eventually is our body gets used to the good foods, and you just don't want the cup of coffee anymore. You just don't want the bad foods.
Absolutely.
Maybe not necessarily the coffee, because there's an addictive quantity with the coffee, but with anything, with the donut, just before that donut, eat a couple grapes.
Well, that's the key. If you have a donut sitting there, an almond sitting there, what do you reach for first? Well, I should reach for the almonds, or I should reach for the apple. But apple, donut, And you'll find out when you do start reaching for the fiber first, what happens is the donut doesn't even look attractive anymore.
Now, one thing you're saying with the move well, now we're talking move well, exercise is great, moving well, but we're also saying that moving well, our spine, which is what we deal with most as a chiropractor, should be moving well, right? When it's not moving well, when it's restricted, basically what happens is our discs, the shock absorbers between the spine, they don't breathe on their own once we reach our teenage years. So what happens is nutrients, water, vitamins come into the disc, and the bad things like scar tissue, cellular debris, and inflammation leave the disc when they have proper motion. When it's not proper motion, the good things like the water and the nutrients can't get in, the bad things can't get out. And what this is like a sponge just sitting out on the table without getting water in it. It's just going to dry up. And that's what they call disc degeneration, DJD, or arthritis. And so what I hear a lot of people, another misconception, I hear a lot of people say that, well, I have arthritis, I'm just older, so of course I'm going to have some arthritis in my spine.
Right.
Which is not the case, because, and I ask them, why would you have arthritis between these two bones and not the other bones?
Right, every bone would have the arthritis then.
You would have it equally, right? Why would one of anyone's organs shut down faster than any one other? Why would you have your kidney shutting down faster than the rest of your body and you'd have kidney failure? Why would your heart shut down faster? Because that particular part is not getting proper healing, proper motion of the spine, which is causing proper healing impulses to travel to and reach that particular joint, that particular organ, that particular tissue.
Well, it's amazing because a Dr. Windsor, who was a Pennsylvania MD, wanted to know what this new thing chiropractic was. So he investigated, and he went and he did, it's called the Windsor autopsies actually. He went, and when someone died of heart failure, he went back to the spine to find out what was going on. And what did he find? He found degeneration. And then when he went back and they found out that they died of a lung issue, he went back. What did they find? Degeneration of the spine. Kidney failure. They went back. What did they find? Degeneration of the spine. Pancreatic problems. What did they do? They went back to the spine and found what? Degeneration of the spine. What percentage of the time? 100% of the time.
And this was an amazing study. This was done in the 40s,
1930.
Right? Yeah, 1930s. And they did this on hundreds of human cadavers, and they also even did it on animal cadavers, too. And the same thing. Correlation was 100%.
100% correlation from the brain to the body to the organs.
And that's why it's so important to keep a healthy spine. That's what we do as chiropractors. We check spines, and we keep them as healthy as possible so that the organs, the tissues, and the glands can function at optimal, and the person can live at their God-given potential.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the water issue. I tell my patients, take your body weight, divide by 2, and that's how many ounces of water you need to drink per day. That's in America because we don't have, with everything that we have offered to us with pop and with coffee and with tea and all the drinks, now we have the energy drinks out there, okay, that are just horrendous. A mixture of sugar, caffeine, and all sorts of stuff. Now, that stuff that's the crud, I call it, the crud gets into your discs. It's like when you use the sponge analogy. When you take that sponge and you let it dry out, and it's got all the crud in it, you step on it, it cracks, doesn't it? It's worthless. That sponge is worthless. Now, if you take a sponge, and it can be an old sponge or a new sponge, but you kept it moist all the time, and I put it out on the highway, and a truck runs over it, you can pick it up and go, hey, look, the sponge is still good.
No big deal.
And those sponges are in between your spine, and we call them discs. And people say, geez, I weigh 160 pounds. Well, that would be 80 ounces of water. You think, 80 ounces of water? That's tremendous. That's unbelievable. And I say, well, wait a minute. The average water bottle is only 20 ounces. That's 4 of an average water bottle.
That's not really that much water.
When people look at it that way, they say, oh, well, no, that doesn't seem that much. Because if you drank 1 for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then 1 throughout the day, it's not very hard at all.
And I think it's interesting what you're saying about the different expressions of the toxins, how people respirate out the toxins that are in their body, how they come out in their skin. And just take, for example, like the acne, right? Toxins are coming out of their skin all the time for a reason. They have this acne because they have toxic substances in the body. And now they go ahead and they take certain medications. And these are very strong and powerful medications for acne. And what that does is cause all sorts of psychological disturbances, all sorts of different problems in the body, because now these toxins are locked and trapped into the body. And what I see with even common things, this is something that I just got actually a couple weeks ago, and even with very common things, it's very important for people to be informed on what they are, what they're taking, and anything, whether it's food, whether it's medications, whether it's drinks, what's going in their body, what's in that, and what that does to their body. I'm just going to read this to our audience here. It says, I would like to thank those of you who expressed condolences on the recent passing of my mother. She suffered a hemorrhagic stroke while she was driving home from my house on July the 30th, and she passed away on August the 3rd. My mother's stroke and passing was an enormous shock to my family because she did not have any symptoms or risk factors for a stroke. Just the week before, she had gone to her doctor for a checkup and received a clean bill of health. She did, however, develop a cold while she was visiting me and had taken Alka-Seltzer Cold Plus for 3 days. Since her passing, we've learned that Alka-Seltzer is one of the many cold medicines that contains phenylpropanolamine, which they nickname as PPA, phenylpropanolamine, which can cause hemorrhagic stroke, which is basically bleeding of the brain, cerebral bleeding, even with the first use. I'm forwarding a list of other medications that currently have PPA. These medicines are supposedly being recalled, but my mother just purchased this medication less than 2 weeks ago. Pharmaceutical companies have known about this danger for years. We, unfortunately, did not. Now, this is in reference to something that happened 6 months ago. They put out a recall on many medications, and these are common household medications.
How can I get a list of that? Can I get?
You can get, I have lots of copies of this, lots of lists of it, and not only can you get a list of it, but there's numbers you can call and places that you can send it into if you have any of these medications.
Okay. And
you can actually get reimbursed for them. So if you were to call our office at 248-366-6378, that's 248-366-6378. We'd be glad to get you a list of these medications, and I'll read off just a few here. Now these are...
I'd like to get that list so I can give it to my patients.
I sure will.
I'm making well aware.
These have been pulled off the market.
Because that's over-the-counter stuff, isn't it?
They're reimbursing you financially for having these. These are over-the-counter that people have no idea, and they're still on the shelves. You can still buy them, even though they're recalled off the market, not making it now. Certain ones...
So they're not making it, but they're still available on some shelves then?
Exactly.
Okay.
And there's an 800 number, there's a website, and I'd be glad if anyone were to call my office to get this list, get this information, I'd be glad to kind of walk through the process of how to get reimbursed for these and how to get rid of these medications. Okay. This is like Accutremin Diet Gum Appetite Suppressant, Accutremin Plus, Accutremin Maximum Strength, Alka-Seltzer Plus, Alka-Seltzer Plus Cold Medicine, a whole list of Alka-Seltzers, kind of goes on and on there. BC Allergy Sinus, Comtrex, Day and Night Contact, Coricidin, Dexatrim, Dynatap 4-hour liquid gel, Naldicon, Permethane, Robitussin, Travis, Triaminic.
Oh, the Robitussin, the cough medicine?
Yep.
Wow.
Robitussin CF, that's the one. Not necessarily all the Robitussin, but Robitussin CF. has phenylpropanolamine, and it was pulled off the market because, again, it can cause cerebral bleeding or strokes.
Wow.
And this is just one list of these over-the-counter medications, not to mention some of the ones that are not over-the-counter.
Right.
That people just don't know. And I don't want people to get me wrong. There is a time and a place where certain things like this can save your life. You need it right now, and it will save your life. But for most of the things, for simple symptoms that, a simple cold,
Well, plus
is
there's
our
other
body
alternatives.
trying to express and get rid of toxins and kill off bacteria. Taking these things, stopping that from happening, stopping our body from expressing its potential, is causing damage, and then there's some side effects involved in it. And what I like to tell people is that something like a side effect isn't on the side. That's what this does. That's one of the things that this does. It's direct effect.
Right, yeah, I asked the toxicology teacher when I was in school, I said, wait a minute, we're talking about side effects all the time, side effects. And I said, if I was perfectly healthy and there was nothing wrong with me, and I started to take this product, I could get these 9 things? How is that a side effect? It's a direct effect. I took it, I didn't have it, now I have it. So, and I thought to myself, well, geez, how does that work that if I'm perfectly healthy and take the product, I could have these 9 symptoms? What happens if I'm compromised? Now I'm already sick, my health is already down, and now suddenly I'm taking these things. How does it affect my body that way?
And just like we said, it's a direct effect. These are what some of these things do. And these particular ones, which are a huge list, and again, I'd be glad to put that out there for anybody. Everybody should know that these have been recalled. People shouldn't be taking these medications, buying them. They should actually be returning them to the drug companies and getting financial reimbursement for those medications that they have.
It's an amazing thing that, like when we talked about, there's 3 things that get you ill. 3 things, and only 3 things that get you ill. Thoughts, toxins, and traumas. Not enough or too much of those 3 things. And then we talked about, when I talked to my patient, I realized through my education and through what we have and the education that we have, that there's only 4 things that make us better. There's only 4 things that heal the body. And it's an amazing thing. So I asked my patients, if you had a wilting plant, this plant was wilting, that plant is wilting, what's the first thing you would give it?
Well, we know we want to give it water.
Water, right? That's pretty simple. Plants need water, don't they? Okay, what's the next thing we might give it?
Want to give it nutrients that it needs.
Nutrients, so feeding the plant, giving it proper nutrition would be vital. What else would you want to give it?
Well, that plant's going to need some sunlight.
Sunlight, so that's the way the plant breathes. The plant breathes through photosynthesis, so we need good oxygen. And the last thing?
It's its nerve supply.
Nerve supply. So if we took this plant and I ripped it out of the soil and laid it down, even if I gave it the proper water, the proper nutrients, and the proper sunshine, it wouldn't thrive, would it?
That's correct.
Now, there's nothing in that plant. There's nothing on that plant that you will not find on this planet. All the carbons and all the stuff is all found on Earth. And then I ask my patients, name me any product that's in your body right now, okay, that isn't made from Earth.
And there's none.
There's none.
There's not synthetic chemicals.
You are animated Earth. You're animated Earth. You're the same as the plant, only we are animated. So if your plant was wilting, it was wilting now, the leaves were wilting, would you start cutting them off? Even if there was a little bit of life in it, would you start cutting off leaves?
No, you're not going to cut.
I wouldn't, but so, would you think removing of body organs are wise? Or would you want to try to give it the 4 things it needs? Good nutrients, good water, good oxygen, and good nerve supply.
And just like if you took a cadaver and you gave him food, water, stuck a peanut butter jelly sandwich in his mouth, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen whatsoever. You cut the cadaver's skin, nothing's going to happen to it. So the most important thing is that nerve supply. If it has that life energy, that nerve supply first, then it can use and take in all the other things.
Absolutely. Now, if the leaves were dead, like you said, the cadaver, if the leaf is dead, could you trim off that? Sure. That would be a wise thing to do. But the plant's wilting. Most of the time that when we're feeling ill, we go from, full function to semi-function or malfunction, and then we go into dis-ease or ill health. When we're at dis-ease, do you think that it's wise to sit there? In other words, you have a wilting plant. Would you put Tylenol in the soil to get it well?
Of course not.
Of course not, because you're animated earth, though. So would you put Tylenol in your soil in order to get it well?
Again, it comes up, of course not.
So this is when I start talking to my patients like that, and then light bulbs go off, and they go, wow, I have never thought of it that way. I really, truly never thought that I am animated earth, that we are created from earth, just like the plant life, just like the animals. We have our animals, right? And our the dogs, our cats. It's an amazing thing that only in America do our dogs and cats get the same diseases that the humans do. But that's back to the three things that get us ill: thoughts, toxins, and traumas.
And along the way, it doesn't need help. It just needs no interference so that it can do its job naturally. It has all the ingredients that it needs. We don't need to help it out. There's nothing we can do to help that plant grow or help our body. Like if you have a cut on your hand, there's nothing you can do to heal that cut. The body's going to heal it.
We're self-healing
Band-Aid's not
mechanisms.
healing it. Neosporin's not healing it. Nothing is healing it. The body is going to heal. So we say that God needs no help, just no interference in the body. Or nature needs no help, just no interference.
That's very good. I like that. Just no interference.
And in relation to that, you look at people say like, save the rainforest, save the ozone layer. And it's not that we are saving these things, it's that we're just stop interfering with them. They were fine for thousands of years before we started messing with them. And so nature needs no help, just no interference from us.
Excellent. Yeah, that's exactly when we're looking at nature and we're looking at how things work in nature. If we realize that the hunting and gathering societies, if you look at the hunting and gathering societies, why don't they have even tooth decay? They don't have heart problems. They don't have all the health problems that we have. It's an amazing, like an Inuit Indian, you know what their diet consists of, right? Blubber for breakfast, blubber for lunch, and blubber for dinner. And their dessert is a side of blubber. Now, where's the coronary heart disease in these people? It's non-existent. So there's got to be something else other than eating fat that gives us heart attacks. Does that make sense?
Definitely, definitely.
So,
and fat and cholesterol is another one. Cholesterol is something that our body needs. Cholesterol is something that our body produces in the liver. And cholesterol helps us to have the proper amount of our anabolic steroids, our progesterones, our estrogens, our testosterones. And then those not only are our hormones and our steroids, but those help us to keep a strong bone matrix. So one thing they find now, in the last 30 years, since so many people have been taking anti-cholesterol medications or statin drugs, which those work for lowering the cholesterol. They target and they hit the part of the liver that produces cholesterol, and they attack that. So now the cholesterol is less, so the anabolic steroids aren't right, so now we don't have strong bone matrix. 50 years ago, you asked someone what osteoporosis was, it was only females would get it, where they have less bone density, less bone cells. Now, males have it. Now, it's equal males and females because we're just like the duck on the pond. The little legs are kicking. We may seem just fine, but it's causing disaster with our body chemistry.
I'm glad you brought that up about the cholesterol medication because it seems amazing. It all depends on what kind of question you ask your doctor, okay? The question is vital. The question you ask your doctor is vital. If I go up to my doctor and I say, I do believe that I have high cholesterol, do you have anything that will lower my cholesterol? They say, yes. We have a double-blind study that says this product will lower your cholesterol. And you go, great, wow, I should take that product, right?
Right.
Double-blind study, I will lower my cholesterol with this product.
And it does do that. It works for what its purpose is.
It's perfect.
It will lower the cholesterol.
Now ask the doctor, and here's the question. This is the true question you want to ask. You want to ask the proper question. Because remember that cholesterol medication, it does reduce your cholesterol, which may reduce your chance of heart attack. Doesn't guarantee it. It may reduce your chance of heart attack.
And it will increase your chance of osteoporosis.
And it will increase your chance of osteoporosis, absolutely. So here's the true question you need to ask. Hey, doc, I think that I have high cholesterol. What can I do to lower my cholesterol and move me to health? the last thing he can give you is one of those medications because they know it destroys the liver.
And one thing that really causes a lot of problems here in the United States is that we have direct-to-consumer advertising for pharmaceuticals and pharmaceutical companies. So it takes a lot of power away from our doctors and our nurses that just want to help people, because direct-to-consumer advertising, meaning they have commercials on the television for a drug. This is a pharmaceutical company putting a commercial out there to sell their products. And then we also have pharmaceutical companies publishing studies about their products rather than just our doctors, right? Where we should have the doctors publishing studies, and doctors don't have time to sift through these things. We are supposed to take studies as fact, that are proven, that are facts, but we now have pharmaceuticals doing it with intent to sell certain products. And they're marketing this just to the community, just to consumers, and someone sees on TV, oh, I saw this commercial where this person looked upset, and, you know, I think I have that. I think I need that, doctor. And nowadays, most of the time, when someone goes there and asks for a specific thing, a higher percentage of the time are they getting that medication than if they would have just not asked for that.
Right.
They're now receiving that more.
Well, like I said, I have some medical doctors as patients, and they're complaining about that all the time. They are literally complaining about that direct advertising because people see someone suffering on TV, and they walk in and they offer that. They don't even want an exam. They want to call on the phone and get their medications without even a proper exam.
And you're getting faxes that say, receive your medication now, no need to see a doctor, get the prescription. And there's people out there that have skewed their morals and are just doing this without even seeing the patient.
Yeah,
and on the internet, get your medications now, fill out a little survey, boom, receive your medication. And it's there. It's just right down from the pharmaceutical companies to sell certain products, to sell certain medications, and it's for profit.
Well, we know that when you're having the four things, which is proper nutrients, proper oxygen, proper water, like we talked about before, the fact if you take your body weight, divide by 2, that's how many ounces of water you need to drink. If you're 160 pounds, you should be drinking 80 ounces of water, okay? And then a proper nerve supply. And the nerve supply is really one of the most important things that we can check. And a miscommunication between the brain and the body makes malfunction, doesn't get those organs properly functioning, and that's what truly is the problem that we have. When we're taking the medication and we're ingesting it, and then it has to go through the stomach, and then the stomach disseminates it to every cell and organ in your body, that's why you have side effects. So think about that. Does Dome's backache pills know where your back is? Does Excedrin PM know what time it is?
You take ibuprofen for the headache, you take it for your knee pain, you take it for this. It doesn't target these things. It just does what it does. It's just a toxin that causes our body not to feel anything. So if you have anything you'd like to add, we're just about out of time here, Doc. If you have something, a final thought for our audience here?
Final thought, I would have to say that we have to make sure that in America, instead of quick fixing, we need to move well, think well, and eat well. Do those 3 things and do them for a month and see what happens and how it changes your life.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Doc. And remember that God gave us the gift of life, and what we do with that gift is our gift back to God. I'm Dr. Adam Rodnick, and thank you for joining us on Ask the Chiropractor.